Welcome back to ShopDog-Garage. We're in lovely San Diego, California on a house call. This is Adam's boy Ryan's 66 Fairlane. 65, I'm sorry. It had a 289. Unfortunately, it got itself a little bit of a window problem. And it got grenaded. And they found a 78 302 that had been recently rebuilt, and somebody didn't need it anymore. So they dropped that in, changed over obviously to a 4-barrel carb. And while I'm out here, we're going to go ahead and lean this carb out. This is a 600 CFM out of the box carburetor from Holley, 66 front jets. I don't know what the rear plate is. No, squirters are 31.
Okay, 31.
Now the squirters being 31 on a 302 with a mild cam, that's probably a little aggressive, particularly with the automatic. This is a cruise-o-matic, correct?
Yep.
You know, car's not really that heavy. So I think we will take a look real quick, see just how bad the plugs are looking, because he has run it a little bit. And as long as things aren't black, we're going to go ahead and reduce the main jets to probably 62s. And go ahead, and we already know we're changing the squirter. We'll put 28 in there, and then we'll see how it rides. I really forgot to record it, but when you're pulling a bowl, take a cap or something. Find your lowest point you can get it, which on this manifold was easy. We just set it right where this rag is. Pop that lower bolt first. Catch all the fuel. Also, be very careful on any of these with transfer tubes that you don't destroy the gaskets. And everybody knows, remember, that linkage has to be right or you don't have an accelerator pump. All right, with not as much drama as normal, we actually got the squirter changed. So that's now a 28 squirter. We're going to go ahead and throw the fuel line back on and try to get a halfway decent cold start. The engine's not too warm yet. One of the other things is we should probably see if we can kind of get the fast idle set a little bit. You can only do it a little here and there. You can't do it very often. Okay, so the choke is obviously not quite right yet. So needs more choke yet. Idle speed's a little low for that as well. Go ahead and shut that down for a second. So that was the first start after doing all this. They haven't done any fast idle work yet on this. It hasn't been running for that long. So we're going to have him go ahead, throw another quarter turn on fast idle. We're also going to try to lean her out just a tiny bit more if we can. See, Rich is probably right in here. So if we open her just a tiny bit more. But yeah, that it seems to want to fight the start. So hopefully that's just a dying battery and not you know, too much timing. We'll see in just a minute. All right, so we've got the dizzy loose, we've got a timing light, we've got a vacuum gauge. We've got the idle screws set for 1.5 full turns out or 3 half turns out. He added just a little more to the fast idle. The engine's at a temperature and the temperature outside. This is reasonable. I think she should start, but you know, our timing may be a hair off yet. We'll take a look in a minute. You want to go ahead and start it, Ryan? Okay, that started much easier than last time. Okay, no, let her roll through. Let her do what she's got to do. Okay. Sure looks like we're missing on a cylinder. I'm gonna go take a listen. Good. It's awful jumpy. I wonder if we got a bad motor mount. Okay, he's gonna pop her in gear real quick and let's see what our RPM drop looks like. Yeah, boy, that thing comes down an awful lot, and with all this shaking, there's a really good chance there's something fishy with the torque converter or the transmission in this. Because the 289 also jumped before they grenaded it like this. I know when they put the motor together, they made sure they had the correct balancer, correct flywheel, or flex plate. But that is, now I don't have a tack hooked up, but just watching the vacuum, that is a tremendous drop. That is absolutely astounding. So we're really loading it, just putting it in drive. So just putting it in drive is a serious load. So starting to wonder if that torque converter isn't slipping anymore. Right, Ryan's been taking me for a little test drive, and other than whatever's going on with that torque converter, overall it seems to drive pretty good. It does have a little bit of hesitation here and there, and the secondaries rarely open, but to be fair, I don't know that they're being called for. So overall it seems to be driving better. There's more work to do, but it'll get there. Watch out for this motorhome. Yeah. Hey, we're back. You can go ahead and shut her down. It actually drove nicer than we were expecting. So I think this car is ripe for a C4 swap myself. But other than that, it seems to run pretty good. And then I don't know that I've ever mentioned it in the video, but this is the 53 Ford that Adam's building. This is his pride and joy.
Got a long way to go, but we're almost there.
No project's ever done.
No.
So I gotta say, this actually drove better than I expected it to. Back to day 2 of this strange and interesting video. So it's a little brighter out than it was. We're going to address a couple things. We have some theories on the shaking, especially since it happened with the other motor, that we can't really address right now. But we have some other things we can address. And one of the things I want to do is get some valve covers off. Just make sure everything looks kosher. Alright. And much as I suspected, since it's a 78, this is a net lash system. You just tighten them correctly and they are what they are. So I don't know where we are in the firing order right now. But everybody's pumped up and everybody's on. There's really nothing you can do about that. So, you know, that just is what it is. So, one of the things we've definitely done is separate 7 from 8 just to kind of help make sure we don't get any crossfire there. But we'll go ahead, get that clean, get the gasket back on. But definitely wanted to take a look. You never know when you're buying something. Okay. So we got cover back on. We're getting hooked up for timing. I think we're a lot closer to having a choke now. We got that loosened up just a little bit. We're not sure what to think about the shaka on this. You know, the only things in this engine bay that were on the 289 and on this 302 are the transmission and its torque converter and this harmonic balancer, the pulleys, alternator. Not even the power steering. They don't even have that hooked up at the moment because they're having a heck of a time finding a line for this. This is an unusual application, to say the least. So, oh, and the brake booster. But honestly, that's not going to cause the shaking. So, I think we will continue moving on from here. I think in a minute we'll try to get her started. Okay, got a tack hooked up. We got a timing light on hand. We've loosened the distributor enough. I just gave her a big pump shot, so let's see if it just starts. Maybe. Might also just start on fire. You never know.
It's a 50-50 shot.
Find out. Oh, the windows go up. That's good. Huh. It just starts. Okay, we'll be back. Oh, it also died. Yeah, we don't have the fuel quite right on that because the idle was a little low. So I'm going to turn that up a little. All right, we just adjusted the fast idle screw in just a little bit more. I gave it one more pump shot, and that sounds a little better. right around 950. Yeah, that's not bad at all. We may wind up turning that up just a little more, put it around 1,000, 1,100. Yeah, so we're gonna kill it. We're gonna turn that in a little bit more. I would like for a cold engine in this configuration somewhere in that 1,000 RPM. I think is a good warm up spot. I just put another quarter turn in. Oh, let's give it one pump shot. I know it was just started, but it is a cold motor. Okay. Look at that, started right up. Yeah, this is the thing we're not sure about, is all this shaking. And like I said, the other engine also did this. These are brand new motor mounts, brand new transmission mount. The only thing we're curious about is maybe that balancer just isn't there. You know? Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do about that. We don't have another one to swap on, but that's in their wheelhouse. So maybe the weight has been shucked off of it or something. It happens because these are what, 28 ounces unbalanced, something like that. It's in that ballpark. And if it isn't, it isn't. Well, we were having weird rev hangs as it was warming up, and it turns out this brand new carburetor, look at that. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's like some flash here, and it was catching against the post. So we're gonna go ahead and file that off. Here's how this is supposed to work. He's gonna open the throttle ever so slightly so we're not loaded on a step. See how that can just fall? Okay, go ahead and release. So now when I go to open the choke, this pawl here, because we're stuck on the fast idle step, now no matter what I do, if I open the choke, now just crack it, that falls. That just changed what idle speed we're using. We're not on the fast idle cam anymore. Now we're on the regular idle. Okay, right now engine's cold. We think we got the choke a little happier. So we're at about 1,000 RPM right now. I got a feeling if I yeah, no, she's not sounding too bad suddenly. Not even shaking that much, but that could be a function of the RPM. So, yeah, because we've discussed off camera a few ideas, and that balancer is definitely on my list. That could actually be the issue. The car came with that aftermarket balancer, and somebody sold this car. So, but I gotta say, right now, at least at fast idle, as it's warming up, looks pretty good. And as an example of how you can quickly trick yourself, the area they had tapped for voltage for the electric choke, and remember, not these guys, the car came that way, was on the other side of a relay solenoid. So it was only 1.2 volts. That's why it was taking so long to open. So unfortunately, we've kind of blown that adjustment window for today, but I think Adam now sees kind of what we're doing here. So right now we've just got the key on and it warming up with an initial position to kind of catch up to how warm the engine itself actually is. So yeah, that explains quite a little bit. Okay, he's gonna have to go through adjusting the choke one more time when it's cold because of our last change, but I think we're in the ballpark. I think this is much happier. This may be the end of this random and interesting video. So Ryan's in college, so he's not here right now. I may or may not have time to work on this tomorrow. If I don't, this is the end, and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If there's still more video, well, I'll see you in a minute. The weather's just too nice for that to be the end of the video. So now that we've gotten the choke set up, and obviously the car's been sitting for a few hours, so it'll be fine as soon as it warms up. We went ahead, readjusted this. We went to a white accelerator pump cam. And for now, because of the other issue, we went back to the 31 squirter so that we're not chasing too many problems at once. And now we're going to take her out and see how she does. Some of those 2 changes was a little too much. So we went and left the 31 squirter, and we went to a pink cam on a number 1, which is going to give us hopefully a nicer profile. That last ride, it was a very, very, very rich bog. Fine tuning continues. So this little thing is a little sensitive. We wound up adding a touch more timing, and now we're back to an orange cam, but now we're on the number 2. We just ran it on number 1, and it wasn't too bad, so we're about to try it on number 2 and see what we think. It'll start the pump shot a hair later, but it will ramp it for longer. So maybe that'll take care of that. You're going to notice that I'm back in my shop and not in sunny San Diego. Been just kind of going through some things. Found a nice set of takeout gauges that we'll send to Ryan so that at least he can know a little bit more. But did a lot of thinking on my flight back about what could be some of our shaking. And it still always comes down to the 2 things we've been talking about. When you look at the back of an engine, you're going to have either a flex plate or a flywheel. He's got an automatic. It's got a flex plate. This is a flex plate right here. This is what your torque converter bolts to. So depending on the balance inside the engine, sometimes weights, and no, it would be on the other side, are welded onto locations. We know when they put that 302 in there that they did the research, found the correct adapter there. On the front of the engine, there's a harmonic balancer. So here's a harmonic balancer for a big block Chevy, which, because it's an aftermarket balancer, has the ability to add weights in different locations for different applications. This application here happens to be neutral balanced, so none of those weights were added. So that's important to think about. I've never actually seen what happens to an engine if the balance isn't correct. So one of the things they're going to do is go ahead and order a harmonic balancer for the 302. And when they do that, they'll run it and make sure that the engine calms down. If it doesn't, then it has to be transmission related. The only things different between when it was the 289, you know, the one that got an extra window in the side of the block when it threw a rod. The only difference between the 289, which also shook, and that 302 that's installed now is the 302 now has new motor mounts, but the same transmission and the same balancer, because his pulleys needed a 3 and not a 4. So this is a balancer for a GM with 3 bolts for the accessory drive pulleys, and that's also what he needed. However, the 78 that was the donor car for that 302 had a 4 bolt. So they took that off because they're both 28 ounce in balance and put the aftermarket one that came with the car with that 289 that always shook as long as they've owned it. If that is damaged or not correct, they just reintroduce the problem. So they're going to spend the $100, replace that, find out if that smooths the engine out. If it doesn't, it's transmission related. That's all we're down to. So we got it running okay. We didn't get it running great. And honestly, I think until that gets sorted, I don't think you can. One of the things, when you put that in gear, it is a drop. It is a load. So until they get that sorted out and we're not dealing with a 300 RPM drop going into gear, I think they're always going to be chasing that just a little. But that's okay. Ryan's learning, and we'll help him get a little more data. I think I'll dig around and see if I have a tack he can mount to, or at least use when he's doing some testing. I think that'll help. We left a bunch of carb parts for them so that they can play around with some tuning a little bit more. Unfortunately, we only had a couple hours every night while I was out there to work. No, yeah, I don't know that we could have gotten any much more done than we did. I do like how it drives at lean cruise. Transitions are still not perfect. We're on the red cam with a 31 squirter. They're actually going to try a 35 squirter at some point and possibly go back to the orange on number 1 with that 35 squirter and see if that actually helps. Because maybe just the fact it's a 3,800 pound car and it's just a 302 and it's got a cam from like 1978 in it. So even though it's new, you know, it's nothing crazy. It's like 150 or 160 horsepower. So maybe it just doesn't like moving that. The third variable, of course, is still ignition. They're still using their points distributor. They had bought a inexpensive aftermarket distributor with electronic ignition and it never worked right. So they put the points dizzy back in. Dwell could be off. You know, the plate could catch. I mean, we just don't know. We didn't have a lot of time to explore that. Because I do understand ignition could cause some problems, but it's not going to cause that shake. We've separated number 7, number 8 wires just to make sure we're not getting cross, and that definitely wasn't it. So that's kind of where we're at. But anyway, thank you for watching this random video. I hope you at least enjoyed it. Anyway, please like, comment, and subscribe.